So in this session, I will discuss the plastic hinge modeling of RC columns and I will focus on the use of E-tabs. Just like beams, again we have two options here. One is the manual definition of hinge properties. So it means that for each hinge, you define the action deformation curve manually and then assign that hinge to that particular column to which that action deformation curve is applicable. The second option is the direct or automatic definition of hinge properties by the program itself. So obviously this option 2 is easy, but again we will have more control on the properties of hinge if we go for option 1. So let me first introduce the types of plastic hinges available for columns in ETABS, their basic inputs required and everything. And then I will go to ETABS and demonstrate quickly how you can actually define, and I will show you those options there. So the very first thing which we have to consider while using the concentrated plastic hinge approach for columns is that unlike beams, here we have the axial flexural interaction. In beams, only degree of freedom which we were concerned was M3. So M3 hinge was enough for beams controlled by just one M3 versus theta 3 behavior. M3 means moment and theta 3 means rotation. So for beams that was okay, simple case. But for columns, this M or M3 is not alone. It is affected by the axial load in the column. So the column capacity is not just the yield moment. It is a pair of P and M which will cause yielding in the column or which will fail that particular column. So if I talk about beams, I say okay, M3 is my concern and the yielding is only My. Yield number is just one moment value at which this M3 will be saturated and as defined by the M3 versus theta 3 behavior. So my this point is basically My. That's all about beams. But let's discuss about columns now. In columns, the complexity is that there is no single number which you can say that this is the capacity of my column. The capacity is defined by a complete curve which is called the PM interaction curve if you talk about 2 dimensions. If you talk about 3 dimensions, then there is another moment also in the other direction. So that will be PMM surface or capacity surface. So let me draw the most complex case where we have, for example, M2 and M3, the moments in the both local axes 2 and 3, and there is a surface which is giving us the failure combinations of these 3 numbers. Each combination or each point on that surface is the capacity of that column, is a failure combination which will fail that column. So if you talk about capacities of columns, it is not just one number My. It is not only My as in the case of beams. It is a complete three-dimensional surface called the capacity surface. So there is no unique combination which will fail that column. If for example I say that P is 150 kip, then corresponding to that 150 kip, there will be there will be an M2 and M3 which will fail that column. If I say 100 kip, and there will again be some M2 and M3 which will when combined with that 100 kip will fail that column. So there is no one unique, you can say, number which can be considered as the capacity of column. It is the complete surface. This is one difference. And again the second difference is that now the M theta curve for column will not be a unique curve, because unlike beams, because for beams we have just one fixed M theta curve, M3 theta 3, and that was enough to define nonlinearity in the primary direction of beam. Beam can bend only in one direction, or this is our concern that M3 and theta 3 were our degrees of freedom. But for columns and for three-dimensional columns, they can bend in any direction. So which means that that moment and corresponding rotation can be in any direction. It can be in M2 direction, M3 direction, or at any angle between M2 and M3. So one difference is that we have to define the capacity in the form of complete curve. Second difference is that there will not be any unique m theta curve which will be given as an input. That curve will be modified based on the level of axial force and based on the angle at which that moment is calculated. So there are two primary factors which will affect this m theta curve. What is the axial force at that particular, you can say, particular level, and then theta or angle, let me call it angle so that it is not confused with that theta. That angle between M2 and M3, that also is required, because you can say that the applied moment it may be in the M3 direction, it may be in the M2 direction, but it may also be in some intermediate direction at a particular angle. In that case, the moment will be the moment at that angle, and the rotation will be the rotation at that particular angle between M2 and M3. So if I talk about in terms of, for example, column cross section, and let's say that this is my 2 axis and this is my 3 axis. Now the applied moment can be in M2 direction, it can be in M3 direction, and it can also be in any diagonal direction. So that angle of the moment between 2 and 3 maybe, that also will affect the moment rotation behavior. In beams, we were only concerned with this 3 degree of freedom or 3 direction of bending. That was the primary function of the beam, to deflect in one direction, which is the deflection or rotation about 3 axis. But for columns, we cannot say before doing analysis that it will be deflected in which direction. Will it be deflected in 2 direction or 3 direction, about 3 direction or about 2 direction, or about any direction which is at a certain angle from the 2 or 3 axis. And also the yield moment, for example, the moment which will cause yielding in a particular column depends on the level of axial force as governed by this PM to M3 surface. So therefore, a particular M theta curve, a particular directions M theta curve, it can be M3 theta 3, it can be M2 theta 2, it can be M at any particular angle and that rotation at particular angle. That depends on two primary variables. One is the level of applied loading on that column, and second is the angle, or you can say the neutral axis angle also we can call that. So that angle also will affect the m theta curve. So the summary is, I will explain that more again. The summary is that there are two primary differences as far as columns are concerned compared to beams. Number one, capacity is not just one yield point. It is defined by the complete interaction between P, M2 and M3. Second is that the action deformation curve M theta for columns is not a constant action deformation curve which we will just give and then it will use that. It is not a constant M theta. It will be modified because it is a function now. It is the function of two additional quantities, P and angle. So graphically I will show you more about that angle thing when we go to ETABS, because they have a very nice graphic to explain that angle thing. So one thing is P, which is the level of axial force. So because of the axial flexural interaction, these are the two primary differences. So in this slide, I show you that, for example, if this is one cantilever column subjected to the lateral force, and there is a constant axial force P also on that column. Now the lateral behavior of that particular column against lateral force depends on the level of axial force. So for example, this is Okay, sorry, this should be lateral force. So lateral force is on y-axis and the lateral deformation on the top is on the x-axis. And when there is P equal to 0, which means no axial force, the actual column has yielded in the lateral direction at this particular level. Maybe this is maybe 375, uh, whatever are the units, kilonewton. And when I apply some axial force, the yield point has increased. The action deformation curve or cyclic behavior in this case of that particular column is modified now. You can see even the shape is increased, and now the capacity, the yield capacity in the lateral direction is increased, maybe 450 kilonewton. So because of the application of axial force, the behavior in the lateral direction is modified for this particular column. So this is the effect of axial flexural interaction, and that you have to account for, because now let's say that this is the m theta curve which we want to use as an input. So now we can see that this m theta curve is being modified by the level of axial force. If I increase it to 1000 kilonewton, the resulting lateral action deformation or force deformation behavior will be again changed, and the yield point will again be changed. So this example tells us that for columns, we have to consider the axial flexural interaction. We have to modify the actual, you can say, action deformation behavior based on the level of axial force which we have at that particular column. You can do that exercise yourself by going to section designer, E-tabs section designer. It allows you to actually define your own cross section, everything, and then it plots the moment curvature curve for you. And you are allowed to put any axial force level. So there is a button for P level. By default, it is 0 kilonewton or 0 kip. So whatever moment curvature you are seeing for a particular cross section, it is assuming that there is no axial force on that. So it is the purely beam case when there is no axial force. But what you can do is that you can go for P equal to 0 and then increase maybe 10 kilonewton, and you will see that the moment curvature curve will be modified. Then maybe 20 kilonewton, again it will be modified. So in one of my lecture slides, I have a detailed parametric study that how the moment curvature curve is being modified by the level of axial force for different shapes of cross sections, for different uh, levels of longitudinal steel, different amounts of steel, and different Fy, Fc prime. So the detailed parametric study I have uh, conducted some time ago, and I will maybe share that with you also. So in that you can see some of the trends that how a particular parameter will modify the shape of m theta curve. And also in the ETAP section designer, there is also the option for angle of the neutral axis. By default, it is 0 degree, which means that if this is your cross section, the neutral axis is completely horizontal. So whatever is the moment, it is in one particular direction, either 2 axis or 3 axis. If this is 3 axis, then it means that the moment is m3 when angle is 0. If angle is 90, we are talking about m2 when the neutral axis becomes the vertical axis. And if we say give for example angle equal to 45 degree, which means that now our moment is about this diagonal axis. Our neutral axis becomes this diagonal. So now you just think that how the column will actually rotate or bend by pointing your thumb towards this diagonal axis, and the curl of your fingers will be telling you that how the column will actually bend if this is the column cross section. So in the ETAP section designer, you can also try this, that you change the angle and the moment curvature curve will be modified. So which means that for the case of columns, again I repeat that there are two more variables which will modify the the moment rotation curve which you give as an input. So you give one curve as an input, but that will be modified based on the level of axial force and based on the angle of moment or the angle of neutral axis. So let's proceed further now with this discussion, and I will show you these options in ETABS. So here you have already seen the uncoupled hinges: axial P, shear V2, V3, torsion and moment M2, M3. For beams, the primary bending axis is M3, so therefore we use this for beam. All these ones, they are coupled hinges, and you are already familiar with these two fiber hinges. They are coupled hinges. They consider axial flexural interaction, but they use the fiber modeling approach. So now we are left with these options: interacting M2, M3, interacting PM2, PM3, and then PM2, M3. So which means that this one, interacting PM2, M3, is the general plastic hinge, concentrated plastic hinge, which you should use for three-dimensional columns, which can bend in either M2 or M3 or any other angle, any other direction. So this we should use for our columns. And these three can be considered as the subsets of this PM2, M3, because there is just 1 degree of freedom less compared to the general one. So either PM3 can be considered as for two-dimensional columns, maybe two-dimensional frame columns where the primary moment is in the three direction. If the primary moment is in the two direction and it is a two-dimensional column, then you can go for PM2. If you only want to consider the inelasticity in the two moment degrees of freedom, then M2, M3. Then in that case, you will not be actually considering the effect of axial load on the M theta curve. Only the two moments will be interacting. So the summary is that we will be using this interacting PM2, M3 for our columns. There are two more options: parametric concrete PM2, M3 and parametric steel PM2, M3. Now the difference between interacting and this parametric is that in these parametric options for concrete and steel, there are some simplified inputs which are required, because when we will be defining this general interacting PM2, M3, we will see that there are several options to actually first define the PM2, M3 surface for our column, and then also M theta curve for our column, M theta curve. Now I'm not saying it M3 theta 3, because M can be in any direction, theta can be in the corresponding any direction. So we will see that we have to define these two important inputs for our interacting PM2, M3. So in order to give this complete surface, there are few simple, you can say, parameters which can control the shape of that surface. And in the parametric concrete and parametric steel, we can simply give those inputs to control the shape of PM2, M3, and the program will actually calculate the whole surface and give it as an input. So parametric concrete and parametric steel hinges provide us a simpler way to define the same inputs which are required in the interacting PM2, M3 also. So we will be focusing more on the general interacting PM2, M3. So these are that PM2, M3 or any other interacting hinges which are possible. But one thing which I want to highlight here is that V2 and V3 shear hinge, this is also an interacting hinge. Shear in one direction can interact with shear in the other direction, but that hinge is not available in ETABS. There are some other possibilities of interaction between different actions that also currently is not considered or available in ETABS. For example, the level of plastic deformation theta can also affect the shear capacity, for example VC. So we know that at lower levels of plastic deformation or flexural deformation, the VC remains same, but then it reduces with the level of flexural deformation, and then again maybe some residual value. So this interaction between flexural deformation and shear capacity, also currently that option is not available in ETABS. But several of such kind of interactions are available in Perform 3D. So maybe I will have a few sessions about Perform 3D also, maybe after your semester is over. So maybe in the summer I will have few sessions, and you will see there that uh, there are several complex interactions which Perform 3D can handle. Currently, those options are not available in ETABS, but maybe in the later versions, uh, those options will be available. So currently, we will be focusing on PM to M3 interacting hinge for column. So this is the primary form which will be used to actually define the inputs for PM to M3 hinge. First thing you have to select is the hinge type. Either it should be moment curvature or moment rotation, just like beam. If you go for moment curvature, you have to give some hinge length also, which will be used to actually convert the curvature into rotation. Then again, scale factor. Scale factor generally can be for the case of moment, we were using the yield capacity My in case of beams, and for rotation we were using just 1 as the scale factor for rotation, because we were defining the rigid plastic hinge which actually starts from the yield point. So actually we just give 1 as the scale factor for rotation. Same we can do for column. Alternatively, we can go for ASC 41 table, and the scale factor can be defined from there. The load carrying capacity in the moment rotation curve beyond point E, either it should be dropped to 0. So this is your point E, this is point E. So whether it should be dropped to 0 directly or it should be extrapolated. You have to select that option. If you want to add some additional backbone points between point C and D, or point B and C, you can check those options and can add. Otherwise, it will simply use A, B, C, D, and E, the default points. Now, this is something which is new now for columns. Symmetry condition. If in order to define the, you can say, moment rotation in any particular direction, here you have to select one of these three options. Moment rotation dependence on the angle is circular. Circular means that you just need to define the default angle specified curve will be at 0 degree, which means let me explain that in this way, that you have M3 here, you have M2 here, for example. Now the moment can either be in M2 or M3 direction, or can be at any angle also. The corresponding rotation also will be at that particular angle. Now if you define that symmetry as circular, which means that you just need to define one particular you can say moment rotation curve, and the program will actually rotate that with the same radius, or with the same, you can say, angle increment, and use the same for all directions. Or you can say that the moment rotation dependence is doubly symmetric about M2 and M3, which means then you have to select it, give two options for M theta curve, one in M2 direction, one in M3 direction. So which means that you have to specify the curve at 0 degree or at 90 degree in both directions, and the program will actually use the same in the negative sides also. So doubly symmetric means that you define for M2 and M3 positive sides, and then the negative sides can be automatically be same. And then third option is no symmetry, in which that you have to define the moment rotation curve at several angles from 0 to 360 degree, and then program will actually know that okay, if the applied angle or column deflection is at this angle, use this moment rotation. If the angle changes, use the other moment rotation. So I repeat again that you have to define a moment rotation curve, m theta curve. Now this curve, this m and the corresponding theta can either be m2, theta 2, can either be m3, or any angle or corresponding deformation in that angle. If you go for the first option, you just need to define one m theta curve, and the same curve will be used for all the angles. So same will be used for m2 theta 2, it will be used for m3 theta 3, it will be used for any n angle, for example 45 degree and then 45 degree. Same curve will be used for all the angles. If you go for doubly symmetric, then you have to define two curves, m2 theta 2 and m3 theta 3. Now these two will be used actually to interpolate and see that if there is any particular angle, these two will be used actually to uh, actually come up with another m theta curve, which will be used as an action deformation at that particular column or that particular hinge. And the last option is that there is no symmetry, which means that you have to define several m theta curves, each at a different angle. So for example, you say that m3 theta 3 curve is this one, then m 10 degree from theta 3 axis or 10 degree from 3 axis and theta 10 degree from 3 axis. Then you say okay, m 20 degree from 3 axis, theta 20 degree from 3 axis, and so on, and you have to define several curves to actually cover the whole 360 degree, which can be the possible directions of column deflections and directions of applied moment. So here you have to define the number of axial force levels. uh, you have to give different levels of axial force and corresponding m theta curve also, and the program will know that okay, at this axial force level you should use this m theta curve, and then again if the axial force increase, the modified m theta curve should be used. So you have to give the m theta curve at several numbers of axial forces or several levels of axial forces and several angles basically. So these are the two inputs which will affect your m theta curve. If you go for the first option, then just one angle is enough. The same curve will be used for all the angles around 360 degree. But if you go for second option, at least two m2 and m3 directions m theta curve should be defined. And then if you go for third option, then several angles and corresponding m theta curves should be defined. So the summary is that this number one is the level of axial load, number two is the curve angle for m theta curve. These two are the two inputs which will be modified, which will basically use to modify your m theta curve in order to account for this interaction. So here you have to give several levels of axial forces, several angles. You list down all of them, and the corresponding m theta curve should be given as an input. This option will show you the moment rotation curve data in all the angles, and then this option will be used to actually define the PMM surface or PMM capacity surface for a particular plastic hinge. So let me go for the first option, moment rotation curve data. When you click on that, this new form will be opened. This will show you the moment rotation behavior which you are going to give as an input for this hinge, this particular hinge. And that behavior is a function of two things, as I have said. One is the level of axial force and other is the angle. So now see, this graphic show you the effect of that angle thing. R2 or R is for rotation, so this is theta, and M is the moment. Now moment and rotation can be in any direction. It can be M3 R3. In that case there will be a different curve on this surface, you can say, and then MR2 will be another curve, and this one which is highlighted now, which is the white color now, it is somewhere in between R2 and R3, you can see. So this is also an m theta curve, but at a certain angle. Rotation is neither in the R2 direction or R3 direction, it is at a certain angle, for example. So using this figure, you can visualize how different angles will basically affect the moment rotation curve. If you go for the first option, fully symmetric, then this 3D surface will be completely cylindrical. It will be same from for all directions. So all the curves, as you toggle between curve number 1 and several curves which you give depending upon the angles and axial forces, all the curves will be same. It will be just the white line will just be rotated on all 360 degrees. So for example, I say that I go for the unsymmetric option, the third option. In that case, I have to actually list down different angles like 0, 45 degree, 90 degree, then maybe 135 up to 360 degree. For each angle, I have to fill this form for action deformation curve. So this is my primary moment rotation curve, but this is applicable to only one level of axial force and one angle. If I change any of these two numbers, this should change actually. So which means that defining manually the plastic hinge for a column will be very complex process because you need to know the action deformation curve in each of the direction all around 360 degree, and you should also know the effect of axial force on the moment rotation curve values. So you should know that okay, at 0 kip force this should be my action deformation, at 10 kip this the modified should be my action deformation, and also 20 kip, 30 kip, and you have to cover the whole range of axial load values which your column may experience during the analysis. So the program actually uses that level of axial force to come up with the realistic moment rotation behavior for column hinge, depending upon the level of axial force caused by the applied loading. And similarly, depending upon the directions of M2 and theta, values of M2 and M3, the deflection also can be at a certain angle, and therefore the effect of the angle also will be considered in the moment rotation behavior. So this is manual definition will require a lot of information and data unless you want to go for fully symmetric, and then there is just one moment rotation in all the directions, and then you should know that at what level of axial force how much capacity will be reduced, or how the action deformation is going to affect my action deformation behavior, for example. So that information is only required if you go for fully symmetric option. In that case, the angle thing will not be required. Acceptance criteria, same as beams. These are the view options for this graphic. You can rotate that view, and at each angle a different curve will be given as an input, and you can see the coordinates of that curve when you click on these options. These are the different view options for the same graphic. So this is the information which is uh, which is currently uh, being used in this input data, and these are the, you can say, conventions for angle. 0 degree means positive M2 axis, and similarly 90, 180, 270 are shown here. So these are to help the user in actually providing the right inputs. I will show you that form in ETABS also, and I will demonstrate some of the other options also. If you go for the second option, how you have to define the PM2 M3 surface, this second thing, because first thing is for M theta curve, second thing is for the capacity of the column, and for that, but if you click on that button, you will get this form, and it will ask different options from the user that how you want to define that PM2 M3 surface. First is that you click on default from material property of associated frame object. Since you have already defined, for example, the material properties and the reinforcement information in the cross section, One option is that program automatically generates that surface for you, and it just use that one. There are several options from different building codes which provide us the convenient way of actually plotting that PMM surface, approximate capacity surface, and you can go for those options also. And the last option is user defined, that you want to define your own surface point by point. That will be the most complex case, but that is also available. If you go for that user defined option, it will take you to this form where you have to give all three columns P, M2 and M3 you have to give, and the program will generate the PMM surface for you. Actually, you have to give the normalized values P over scale factor, M over scale factor and the other M over scale factor. And you can give these scale factors as the capacities, axial capacity and the two moment capacities in both directions, and the program can generate the full surface for you, and then this will be used for for that plastic hinge. So there are several options. For example, completely circular, doubly symmetric. Doubly symmetric will be, you have to define M2 and M3 in positive sides, for example, and the same will be used for negative sides. And then completely irregular, if you want no symmetry, in that case again that process will be complex. So the summary is that you have to, you can also define your own user defined capacity surface or hinge interaction surface also. So this also will be the second input for column hinges. Alternatively, you can go for these simplified code equations. For concrete, you may use ACI 318 option. For steel, you have three other options. The mathematical formulation is already implemented in ETABS, and you just need to select a particular option and click OK, and then the program will actually use that formula or use that formulation to calculate that surface. There is also an additional thing, the axial load versus axial displacement relationship. That can also be either proportional to moment rotation, because P delta behavior either can be modified same as the moment rotation behavior, or it can go for the elastic perfectly plastic, which means straight line, and then also and then yield completely, which means perfectly plastic. So this behavior, simplified behavior, can be given to the axial load displacement relationship. Basically, you define first the moment versus rotation behavior in a particular angle. So this is your M and theta curve. Currently, you don't know this yield moment. Okay, this should come actually from your PMM surface. So if I go back, you define your moment rotation behavior as normalized value with the yield moment. So moment divided by the yield moment. So this yield moment is actually coming because uh, here there is no option to provide yield moment directly, just like beam. Beam provides you the option, beam hinge form, if you see, it asks the scale factor not only for rotation but for moment also, which you can use the yield moment. But currently in this option, the moment is normalized by the yield moment, and the moment rotation curve which you are giving is not the absolute values of moment. These are the normalized by the yield moment. Now that yield moment is coming from the PMM surface based on the other. For example, if the yield moment here my, let's say that this is for a particular angle 0 degree. So I am basically plotting M at 0 degree and theta at 0 degree. Now at that particular 0 degree, the level based on the level of axial force, I should need a yield moment to completely describe this curve. And that yield moment based on the level of that particular axial force will be coming from the PMM surface. So it means that PMM surface is providing us the capacities to fully define the plastic hinges action deformation curve. So whatever that My was doing before in the case of beams, now the complete PMM surface is doing the same thing for columns. Manually, when you actually draw or calculate the ordinates values for PMM surface, you actually start with a profile, strain profile corresponding to failure. That can be any. That can be epsilon C equal to 0.003 and epsilon steel is less than epsilon y. This is one failure profile. Now you can come up with different failure profiles and ultimately perform section analysis to get one P and M, or if you want three-dimensional, then in that case PM2, M3, one point on that surface. So when you want to plot that, you have to consider all possible failure profiles. In order to construct the full surface, you have to change the angle of neutral axis also. If you go for one fixed neutral axis, horizontal axis, you will be only plotting P and one moment curve, PM curve. But if you go for change in the angle also, which means you are actually getting the complete three-dimensional surface. So each starting point is a failure point. You are talking about material capacity or material failure, crushing or yielding. When you talk in terms of the plastic hinge for whole beam, then you have only one well-defined yield point, which is this point B here. So although I understand that you might be saying that the actual behavior may not be that sudden yielding, and it may start with some cracking, and then when the steel actually significantly yields, then we have a overall stiffness degradation for beam. But for idealized plastic hinge action deformation curve, we just take this point as our yield point. So whatever is the moment corresponding to the yield of steel, for example, because anyways, when you are towards the P axis, top of the action deformation curve, you are already governed by axial action. You are not governed by the flexural action. If you are somewhere towards the top of this curve here, then you are not governed primarily by the plastic hinges or flexural deformations. So we just assume that whatever is the capacity point, whatever is the moment corresponding to the surface of this curve, is the yield moment at that particular axial load. This depends on case to case basis. It depends on, uh, yes, you are right actually. It depends on how we define this. Currently, you are thinking that okay, this always will be 1.1 or this always will be 1. If I maybe go for this horizontal line, no overstrength, in that case, point B moment or point C moment is same. So it depends on what material properties I am using to construct this PMM surface also. For example, when you actually see in the section designer the complete surface, you will see that there will be several surfaces. If I take a cross section only in PM direction, P and let's say M3 direction, so you will have one curve, and which is part of the big surface, which will be with the ultimate values of material, ultimate material capacities. Then you also have an option to apply the phi factor, okay, and then this will reduce your moment uh, rotation, sorry, PM surface to a lower value. You may also go for nominal material capacity, that will give you another number. So there can be a separate curve for nominal material strength. So whatever material strength or whatever values you use, you know that already, and based on that you actually come up with your m theta curve. The shape of this curve or the yield moment, whatever you are saying, is in our hand. So your observation for this particular example is right, that okay, if you use the ultimate strain profile to come up with the moment PMM surface, then the ultimate moment capacity from that surface should correspond to the moment corresponding to point C and not point B. But if you go for the nominal values or some other values, it will be corresponding to, it may correspond to point B also. And in that case, if the both are same, then you will not go for any overstrength. So it depends on your inputs. So both m theta curve in any direction at any axial load and the PMM surface, they can be completely in your hand. You can go for the manual values or your own values based on your calculation. But then again, there is a automatic version of this whole process also. In that case, you don't have to do anything. Just select a column, select ASC 41 table, and it will fill all these forms and everything. But you will have no control over these inputs. And also, uh, maybe you will not be able to understand some of the inputs in that case. So these three forms or four forms will be used to manually define the PMM interaction uh, hinge for a particular column. So the summary is that you need to have the PMM surface for your column. Either you go for the code expression or you go for the manual definition using this particular form. You need to know the uh, change in the m theta surface, m theta curve based on the level of axial force and based on the angle of rotation, the angle or orientation of the moment and corresponding rotation. So P and angle are the two you can say parameters which will actually modify your m theta curve plastic hinge input. So we have you can say interacting PM to M3. This is, we have discussed that in detail, and there are two-dimensional subsets of that hinge are also available. That is PM2, PM3 and M2, M3. Then we also have parametric PM2, M3 hinges for concrete and steel separately. So they are limited to some doubly symmetric sections only. And the main difference is that they use a simple parametric definition of PMM surface. You will be given with a template of PMM surface, and that surface will be controlled by a few factors, and then you need to just give those factors and your surface will be constructed and will be used. So you just need to define hysteretic energy degradation, and you can go for uh, if you want to define the simple kind of hinges for cyclic loading, you can go for this option. And currently you are also familiar with the fiber PM2 M3 hinge. This is also an option, and that we have covered for columns and shear walls already. Basically for columns we have used this fiber PM2 PM3 hinge. So for isotropic, we know that uh, it can handle the very complex and unsymmetrical PMM surfaces also. We have seen that we can give our own PMM surface, and we can give our own level of angles and level of axial forces at different m theta curves for each of the angle or each of the axial level. So this is the most complex case. Uh, Three-dimensional coupled hinges are available as subsets of this one. The subsets are also available. And this is some of the detail of the PM to M3 hinge which we have just discussed. And I think most of these points I have covered already. It is basically explaining that how the program actually modifies M theta curve based on the level of axial force and based on the angle of neutral axis. and it also shows what are the options available to construct PMM surface automatically by the program. So I will skip all that detail. If you want to go and check more details, you can see the analysis reference manual of ETABS or SAP. So I have taken all that detail from this document. In parametric case, although it is limited to only doubly symmetric cross sections for concrete and steel separately, there are only few parameters which are required, and I want to show you in the figure form. It is this one. So you need to just define some deformation scale factors, and the program will automatically use the yield forces to construct that PMM surface. And if you go for this, you can say yield surface shape parameters, you will be shown with this form, and here you have to just give the alpha T2, alpha C2, these parameters. When you change them, the shape of the PMM surface will be changed. So you need to just come up with the optimum values of your these parameters for your PMM surface, and the program will just construct that surface. You can go for different views from these options. So, but this is only available for doubly symmetric cross sections, and there are not, I mean, you cannot define your own complete PMM surface. The surface will only be governed or controlled by these factors. So for PM2 M3 hinges, uh, this is the form for defining. This is for parametric concrete option, and you have to first select the shape of the curve, and then these again the same parameters, and the program will automatically plot that action deformation curve based on whether you go for elastic perfectly plastic or trilinear, and all that program will do automatically. So you cannot change these things because they are already fixed. You can change only these white boxes, and the program will construct the action deformation curve as well as the PMM surface. So this was all about the manual definition of column plastic hinges. You can go for either uh, interacting PM2 M3, which is the general case, or a simplified case, which is the parametric case. I think I would recommend only for the general interacting PM2 M3 case for columns. The second option is automatic option, and in that the program already have the capability to use the ASC 41-17 table for RC columns. These are the two tables which are applicable to RC columns depending upon whether they are have spiral reinforcement or ties. So for that, the program will use ASC 41 table, and it will extract the small a, small b, small c, which means the m theta curve, and the IOLS and CP from those tables, and all that information which is required to use those tables will be asked from the user in just one form, this form. So you can select a particular column and directly assign an auto hinge, fill this form and click OK, and the program will use ASC 41 tables to fill or construct the plastic hinges for those selected columns. If you go to those tables, uh, in some of the previous slides I have those tables, so you will see that these are some of the inputs required to use or to calculate small a, small b and small c, and the IOLS and CP values. Those values are which are required to use that table are the P values, the axial force from which load case or combination it should come, or the user wants to give his own value, and then we have to give both of the P values for gravity only and gravity plus later load only. Both are used to actually pick the values from that table. Then this factor is required to use that table. You can go for program calculated or user defined. Then degree of freedom is okay, PM to M3, we know that already. Then whether the concrete column is controlled by inadequate development of splicing or whether it is not controlled, we have to select that option because that is required to actually use that table 10-8 and 10-9. This factor, the function of the reinforcement, is required. If we go for current design, we have to run the column design first. The program will use those values from there. Otherwise, we can give our own value here in this box, or what we can do is that we can define the actual design reinforcement, both the longitudinal and transverse, while defining the column cross section, and then program use those values automatically to calculate that factor. And then last is the same option about point E. So these are all the inputs required to use that table of ASC 41. The ultimate outputs from those table are A, B and C, IO, LS and CP. These information is just directly used by the program combined with the default values for plastic hinges in PMM parametric, interacting hinge options. Program will directly define the plastic hinge for those selected columns. So this will be the automatic definition of column hinge properties. Let me go back directly to show you those tables also, because the discussion will not be complete before actually seeing those tables of ASC 41 which are used to actually get the action deformation curve and the acceptance criteria for columns. So in the last session I showed you those tables for columns. Let's quickly revisit them. So this is the automatic hinge definition for beams. Let me go to ASC 41 table. Okay, this is for beams. Okay, these two tables are for columns. This is 10-8 from ASC 41-17, and this is the expression for small a, then again small b and small c also. Okay, this is for small c. But first you have to select whether the columns are controlled by inadequate development or not controlled by. Then the formula will be different for both cases. This is the expression for small b. There are some upper and lower limits for different values, so you have to check for that. IO, LS and CP are also given in the form of A and B, and so if you have small a and small b worked out already, you can put those numbers here to actually calculate IO, LS and CP also. This table is for columns other than circular with spiral reinforcement. Similarly, if they are controlled by inadequate development or splicing, then the expressions will be different. The capacity will be different basically. The acceptance criteria will also be different. The other table is the circular columns with spiral reinforcement. So the small a, b, c, the expressions are different. And the controlling parameters are, for example, this factor, which is the function of the axial force. This factor, which is the function of yield shear based on expected value. So that detail you can read here in the footnotes. So and similarly this factor which is the function of the reinforcement. Similarly this also, this rho t is the reinforcement. So all that information the program will ask from the user directly in just one form while defining the auto hinges for columns, and then the properties will be calculated based on these tables of ASC 41, and finally the program will assign or generate first the plastic hinges and then assign to those particular columns. So now I think let's go to ETABS and I will quickly show you those options which you will use to define the plastic hinges for columns. So let me end this presentation and directly go to ETABS.